now apart. Sorry. Let's get going. It's 7:34, and we'll start with the minutes. Has everyone had a chance to read the minutes? They were excellently short. Thank you.
You are expert at that.
Perhaps, just 2 lines next time.
If we pass motions, I will write it down.
All right. Well, I think we can approve this one.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Mike Casari, who's a new partner in the Cornwall market, is going to be coming to address us at 8 o'clock to talk about what he's finding down there and some of the challenges he's facing. But I thought we'd carry on with the rest of the agenda until then. Given the heat tonight, let's try and keep this reasonably short. Gary, do you want to give us a quick report? Anything to report?
Sure. Of the $6,500 budget that ends in a few days this fiscal year, we have just under $100 unspent or unaccounted for. Within that is still the 12 days of Christmas, which has not been submitted. For fiscal year 25-26, we have the same $6,500 budget. And if we follow through and take on the annual fee for the web host of Cornwall CT and the continuation of the porta potty in West Cornwall, of that $6,500, we have $4,924 unaccounted for remaining to our for our use.
Thank you. That's a very good number. Which leads us into the next one, Cornwall Days.
Yeah, but I did distribute via email a little sort of overview and vision sheet that Chris Sampson and I met and talked about. Okay, I do have a broken printer at home. So I just wanted to share this. I think that the high level important thing is that sort of evolving Cornwall Days, as each year we learn something new, and really the point of it is to do something from an event standpoint that brings people to Cornwall. And we decided, last year we kind of got a little ambitious with trying to combine some bigger activities in one weekend, but I think it got mixed results that way. And this year we're recommending to pick a whole different weekend where I don't think there's anything going on. I did ask Gordon specifically, but he didn't get back to me. It did look like a good weekend from the calendar town standpoint. So the last weekend in September, it would be from a Friday, September 26th to Sunday, the 28th, is the weekend that we think would be a nice weekend to do this. And we're really going, or at least we're recommending, to just focus on music, like just have a series of musical events of different varieties, different types, including musical theater, and that, so a broad definition of musical performances. And we also think that from a funding standpoint, we should ask the businesses to fund the music. So that's your way to participate. If you want to participate, you can host a band, a musician, the Grumbling Griffins. We're thinking of reaching out even to like Sharon Playhouse and seeing if maybe they would bring a group of kids by who perform at their camp and they could perform after the Grumbling Griffins or whatever. We're trying to think of, Jane had a nice idea for a swing band. So nothing is set this way, but we just felt it would be like Friday night, 1 or 2 performances in Cornwall Bridge, maybe at the package store. Definitely, I think at the market. It seems like the market is, looking to do that anyway. So 1 or 2 performances on Friday afternoon, early evening in Cornwall Bridge, Saturday afternoon into evening in West Cornwall. Again, it depends on which of these businesses kind of want to participate. And Sunday afternoon, one thing that was a highlight last year was the Grumbling Griffins, and then a local band of kids played after that. So something like that on Sunday afternoon, more musical theater, maybe there's a acapella group, that kind of thing. So that's basically the plan. The work for us would be, again, and we've promoted this a few times now. And we sort of, we know the cost of that. I can look up what we've spent on that, and we can talk about new ideas for promoting too. But I think that would be, the work would be just coordinating with the businesses. And, Chris has a lot of contacts with the music. I do too, but also just taking suggestions for other musical acts that people might recommend. So I think from a budget standpoint, from the EDC, it would just be our time and the cost of promotion.
Would Trinity participate again?
Maybe. I mean, that was like such a nice idea, and the weather was bad and got rescheduled. I think one thing that we think is that maybe it more focused is better. So maybe a movie night at Trinity should be just like another night in August where families would go to a movie night at Trinity, like maybe it doesn't have to be so many things.
Yeah, I was actually wondering if they could have a cocktail party.
Or a cocktail party. Oh, okay, yeah. They could do, I mean, they've certainly got that big lawn too. We could do, it's worth asking if for sure. And I wrote them on the list of people to reach out to about this.
So no location will be competing with the other location.
Right. It would all maybe 5 o'clock or even 4 o'clock at Richards. I don't want to speak for anyone, but it's just visioning, not with the wine tasting, and then people can walk over at 6:30 to the market and have a burger and more like a bigger band. And that would be, it. And Saturday, it would just be a couple of performances in the afternoon, a couple in the evening, and then Sunday more the musical theater focus in the daytime. So, nothing overlapping and very focused agenda.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Gary, do you happen to have to hand how much we spent last year?
I do my individual item. I can do it quickly.
I wonder why I spent too much of it.
Last year was a huge portion of our.
Right,
Yeah, that's why.
Because it was a promotion, which is definitely at least 500, I
I
think.
think last year.
And then we paid the band.
It was almost 2,400.
Right.
Jane's on target. It's closer to 25.
Right.
But that was paying bands.
It was
and all
paying
the
the band. I mean, the promotion is still at least 500 in my memory at the very rough estimate, Gary.
The Chronicle insert is 235. I have it here, and the flyer at it's 125.
And then the lawn signs are expensive.
And then we have the porta potties. Oh, that's separate.
Try.
Yeah.
I hate throwing away lawn signs, so I'm with you. I just also find it to be a little hard to. I do have, and I think the logo, the one thing that's great. I love the logo. So we got the logo right.
Well,
we can tape over it.
Well, or maybe even instead of getting new signs, just do decals over it, full decals that are then more intelligently designed, so that in the future you could change the numbers.
Okay.
So, but
you're very creative that way. So I'll bring one by and we'll look at it. Well, I do have a bunch of them left. Yeah. And so we would save money that way. But I don't think it should look schlocky and hard to read. So I think that we just make it look right.
These final stick on exactly printed things.
Okay. Okay.
They look. You won't know the difference looking at it from the original.
So you're still printing something new. You're just not. It's cheaper and easier, and you don't have as much
for the new sign.
Okay.
But it sounds like, if we're not paying for the music this time, we ought to be able to do our bit for what is that, 1,000?
I think 1,000 would be plenty.
Approximately.
With all the, I mean, and we could dabble in, if we wanted, it's 1,000. If those printed promotional items don't even make it to 1,000, we could dabble in some kind of advertising, maybe even. But we
got time to modify that necessarily. I think sounds good.
Are we aiming outside? Is the aim to bring people not from Cornwall into the business
perform
district
or
or
to-
primarily, no, in terms of the purpose, which is to
Right.
bring people into the business sections of Cornwall. Are we aiming at Cornwallians or are we aiming beyond primarily?
I'll say both.
Mhm.
I think that's
Yeah.
what our always is our, just like Rose All Grant, using that example, they get a lot of Cornwall locals, but they do draw people from.
Because that will,
Right.
that would shape whatever advertising we want to do.
Right, right,
And let's make sure we get it into the town calendar.
right,
Yeah.
right.
I think one thing that could be a good advertisement is the Main Street magazine, because that has a pretty broad outreach. And it's for a
That is-
quarter page ad, it's 225.
Okay,
So that's not so outrageously expensive, but and the way it's put together is so beautiful and aesthetically pleasing that things do get acknowledged.
Right.
Plus, they always pair it with an article that
Right.
makes sense.
It's good. Idea.
How many lawn signs do we hold on to?
I mean, some of them always disappear. I have some in my basement. I would guess I have 8.
Yeah.
I have one of my clients.
Yeah,
I have quite
you have a
few,
few too?
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So I obviously came in late. How, if we're not paying for the music, how is the music
The
happen?
plan that we have is to engage with the businesses. Some of you are here.
Mhm.
But,
It sounds like the musicians aren't going to get paid, it's that somebody
No.
else is going to pay. Is
yes,
that what we're going
We're
with?
relatively
Yeah.
new, I think.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, and that can be discussed too.
Yeah,
Maybe
no,
we
I'm good
do
on that.
X dollars or something,
Right.
but the idea is that the businesses, kind of, they become sponsors of this
Yeah, or
weekend.
they combine
And
Right.
and take that market maybe.
Right.
We should.
How many, or is that, this also have to be,
This is-
maybe you discussed all this, I don't want to sort of.
No, it's okay. I mean, we can look at the second page of this and get even a little more specific than we did before, so it's okay. Not
You're talking about having several different.
like we
Types
don't
of
want anything. Yeah, we don't want to have anything overlapping. This is like, for example, only Chris and I kind of brainstorming, but let's say on Friday at 5, there could be a singer-songwriter, maybe in line with a wine tasting or whatever, at the Cornwall Pack Store for an hour, and then people, 6:30, like a bigger band could play at the market, and they serve burgers, and so that would be Cornwall Bridge. Friday night, Cornwall Bridge. Saturday, we had maybe the Pink House would have a jazz brunch, and maybe we would have another 1 or 2 singer-songwriters either on the Witch House lawn or at McCare or Christoph. And then Chris loves the idea of a DJ party with like a disco theme, maybe some, these are all ideas, so this is literally brainstorm. But maybe McCare Christoph would host like a more of an evening thing also. And then Sunday, our idea would be more musical theater, because the Groundley Griffins was really great performance and well attended last year, and we could add to that with like an a cappella group or Sharon Playhouse. So that was the sort of vision on this sheet, without nothing overlapping. Cornwall Bridge at one time, West Cornwall at another time. And Sunday, a little bit of a different focus with kids and musical theater.
And the other thing, I'm like, I'm volunteer the year before, might be the year before, but didn't we agree the sign small? We need to make sure the signs are bigger so you can read them from speeding.
We
up.
did get slightly bigger ones, I think, but yeah, we can talk. And if we sort of are landing on this evolution becoming a little more established, with it being focused on music and performing arts, we could also make a few different kinds of signs, like those 10 signs, whatever you call them,
Right.
that would be able to be used every year and kind of, I don't know, the more permanent kind of sign than the lawn sign. We could look at making a couple of those. I think Rose all granted it, right? I'm looking at you because you always have with those in the summertime. Like just the ones that are sort of bigger
Oh,
10.
the library has their sign.
Right, right. Oh, okay. That was for books and glue.
Well, for any of their exhibits here.
Oh, okay.
All right.
I
Well,
think
this
the
seems-
problem it wasn't so much the size as it was how readable they were.
Yeah,
So
right.
that if they could be made clear, in
Right.
case of somebody passing their car.
There, I have
The
about
blue ones.
20 long stakes.
Okay.
No signs, but I have those
Yeah.
stakes.
Yeah, and those do cost separately.
Thank you.
The blue color, I think, was much easier to read than the first year, so that blue, kind of tealy blue color worked well last year. But yeah, all those things can be.
Right. Well, look, thank you for saying well under control. I'm sure we'll talk about it more next month.
Yeah.
Duncan, do you want to talk, and I assume this will be of interest to Gordon, about how we assist farmers move their produce?
Right, so just a thought, I wanted to raise this with the EDC to see if this is something we as a group would like to explore. I've been thinking about the whole farmer market issue and hearing things like there's some of our farmers that don't feel that it's economically worthwhile for them to staff tables at farmers markets in town. And wondering if it might be worth considering something where we put together kind of a cooperative venture where essentially send produce products from Cornwall to other farmers markets around Connecticut. I don't think that's too complicated. But there are farmers markets in New Haven, Hartford, Westport, Greenwich, Stanford, Bridgeport, Bristol, Denver, and Richfield, which are all communities which I think there might be buyers for the kinds of produce that's developed in Cornwall. It's a complicated idea. You have to write a business plan. It will take some months and some money to kind of figure out if it's something worth doing. But the idea essentially is to get a bunch of farmers and others who create goods and products in Cornwall, see if they're interested in having their products put together in some figure out a way to get the product to these other farmers. Have staff makes that account. Do that and then returns funds back to farmers and farmers. So I don't know if it's gonna work. I just think it's I'm curious about exploring, and if anybody else seems interested in exploring that with me, that'd be interesting.
Did specific farmers like come to you or somebody to say, hey, it'd be great if we could get.
I've just been hearing
Is that
farmers
fair?
like Bill Herbert say it's
Right.
just not economic for me to staff
Right.
my own table in a farmer's market. This is the time to do that.
Might be good to talk to the people at Cafe Clover because they're already going to the Westport Farmers Market weekly. And maybe that could be the starting point of something. If they would then, if it turned into some kind of cooperative venture, they're driving there, looking at them.
So they're going to Westport.
Yeah.
Gordon, I know I
Very
bought something
well.
from Jane at Litchfield as well. Are you still showing at that market?
No,
You decided it wasn't worth it?
So Gordon, I'd be interested in talking.
Sure, I mean, I think
farmers.
farmers and farmers markets are struggling throughout Connecticut. A lot of farms have gone out of business in the last 2 years. There was a bump during the pandemic where everybody cared about where the food came from, and phones rang off the hook, and you could see it was really many reliance at farmers markets here in town, and now people have shifted their priorities into other stuff. We do some wholesaling in our farm, but generally you find that unless you deliver it yourself, or if you wholesale, you're going to sell it for a third less than you do at retail. And then if you go part of a co-op, you're going to take another third off of the person that's trucking it. So you wind up with a third of what you can sell for the farm market or a farm store. So you have the time moving on. I think a lot of farm markets would struggle. One of the biggest ones in the area was Norfolk, which was central to their town. That's gone away for reasons I don't know, but I mean that was much bigger than anything you had here. That's gone. They even had a support group that supported their farm market. For whatever reason, that went away. In Kent, the farm market there is supported by the Land Trust and the Chamber of Commerce, and they actually have people run it and provide insurance for the farmers and provide employment for there. And that, again, is stable, but a lot of other farm markets are seeing a revenue loss. Most farm markets are producer run, or producer has to be at the stall. They don't generally allow people called jobbers. They can go to a regional market and buy produce for much less than we can go for here. I saw in Greenwich, there's a so-called farm market. It's a food truck from Georgia every week, which doesn't do anything for genetic features.
Oh my gosh.
So there's a lot of different. It's a complicated business. It's a business that is, I would say, under pressure. You also get the age thing. Most of the farmers in this town are my age, and a lot of them don't have the next generation coming up. So
there's one right over there that is the next generation, right?
there is a next generation,
Good, yeah.
and at our farm market, there will be some younger farmers showing up this season with their own set of challenges and stuff. So it's a question of whether the town is going to support the next generation of farmers or not. I mean, I think our solution is to grow the market here. There are people that come to the farm market here from Sharon, because there's no farm market in Sharon. The one in Goshen is struggling. The people coming from Goshen. There are people. I'd say our customer base is 2/3 of what it was 3 years ago. So there are people that don't come. There's new people that come all the time. But it could use more publicity. I think it needs more customers and that kind of stuff, like anything. But I know Litchfield has a big farm market. They have good social media, and they're probably down 20% over 2 years.
Well, let's back it off.
And there's a further thing. There's your idea is already been tried by the Northwest Food Hub. There's a woman farmer in Warren named Elvia Janu, who got federal grants to set up a food hub in Torrington, and she would have a van come around to farms to pick up this stuff. She had federal grants, which have now been eliminated by the group. So a lot of they had grants to take farm produce to food pantries, and that federal program's gone away. So now they're working on schools, which funding is secure. But even there, unless you're a fairly large farm, the prices you can get from people in Glastonbury, we can't grow stuff out here for that amount. And I think you'll find people like Bill Holbert will say it's easier for him as a sole farmer to have and the price of beef has gone up. So it's more profitable for him to ship his cows to Pennsylvania to the slaughterhouse than it is to stand out here. And they do come every month because I think the retail has its place, but they're not coming every week because it's easier for you to move product and the trailer down to Pennsylvania because the beef prices have gone up. So you have these things that are
Okay,
particular.
right.
So
I appreciate you're a real ray of sunshine. Thank you. But let's just back off that for a moment. So I would like to see if there's some people interested in exploring the idea of how we see farming as a key element of the economy can help farmers sell wherever and however. I think we should have so if there are others that would like to.
I mean, certainly something that is so appealing to living in the Northwest corner, and I didn't know all of those farm markets that no longer exist, but it's so appealing and important to people who live here, including myself personally, but it just does seem to be hard to figure out how to make it a bigger, like, town, you know, and maybe we could get together and study what successful ones, what Litchfield does, whatever. Litchfield's a much bigger town, so, you know, it's hard to find apples to apples, but, and sort of just brainstorm how we could make it a little bit more of a central event, even if it or not every single weekend or something. I don't know. Maybe there's other ways to envision it. And I think it's important to talk about it. So it doesn't sound like a really easy conversation.
Tell me. Good. Anyone else want to?
I think it's a little bit of a catch-22 with the farm markets, because the bigger the farm market, the more likely people are going to bother to go, and the smaller they get, then people are less likely.
Right.
To go. I'm just thinking about the Great Barrington one and wondering how that seems to have a certain vitality to it. And they get some people, I don't know whether they live in Great Barrington, but they have some people that are selling things that they're not going to pick up easily at the stores, like mushrooms and things that seem, you know, people will make the trip because they know they're going to get these mushrooms, or I don't know if there's a way to attract, you know, some things that would help pull people in.
Right.
The Kent market, I think it's Friday night, and it seems well attended, at least the last time I went. Is there anything special about that attracts a lot of people, or it's just Kent?
Well, Kent's on Route 7 is Friday night, right? I think they do have, they have increased their amount of vendors. I'm not sure the profitability has increased, because I said it's sort of stabilized at a certain level, and they do have auxiliary support from non-farmer organizations, like their land trust promotes it. Our land trust is not promoted from it. So, I mean, they have the Chamber of Commerce pay insurance, and they'll hire a band to play at the farmers market, so people can go listen to the band at the farmers market. So those are a couple of things that they have some auxiliary support. So, like, managing the market from day to day when issues arise, there's somebody that's paid by somebody else to deal with those headaches.
You almost feel like it's to a certain extent dependent on the size of the host town.
It is in some ways, but also you can find that some of these smaller markets, because it's less competitive, are more profit. We sell more in Cornwall than we do in Kent. Same stuff. We'd be glad to sell more in Kent than we do in Cornwall, but because there's less, I think the other thing too, there's less food opportunities in Cornwall than there are in Litchfield. There's more farms and more farm stands and more grocery stores in Litchfield. Cornwall is sort of a food desert, and people, you know, can come. It's really the only place they can get there. The other thing that happens too is we have what's the record? Until last weekend, it rained 16 weekends in a row, which is very hard. I was talking to a vineyard in Goshen, and it's just been catastrophic for your business. Totally, they have an inside tasting and everything else. But you found that 2 years ago, when we had a rain stretch in the fall, the pick your own apple business, huge crop of apples, did not move because of that variable, which again is, you know, how do you plan for that? And luckily we seem to have broken that cycle somewhat, but you have that another little thing that can go against it.
I think it's a combination of a couple of factors, in that it's for the farmers markets, it's the vendors that are there, the number of vendors, the quality of the vendors, the intrigue of some of the vendors. They may be unique, kind of, somebody mentioned mushrooms or something, whatever it be. There's something that's a niche of a particular vendor, but it's also like a lot of things, you know, people just dial up their phone and Amazon delivers it. And that's food included, everything is nobody goes shopping. And nobody goes to retail, nobody goes to brick and mortar or outdoor markets. It's just, it's a different, I mean, I think actually outdoor markets may have a better chance, that's the right word, than brick and mortar stores. And then, so you have the ease of buying online, even fresh vegetables online. So it sounds like an oxymoron. Well, it is. It doesn't sound like one, it is. But there are food substances available online. The vendors involved, the ease of shopping online, and then I think just as it's been said before, is the weather. The weather, just whatever's happening, is so related to people going out and just going outside. If it's raining, it's not going to happen. So that's, some of these things are affecting not only farmers markets, but I think just business in general. Farmers market has its own set of issues, but some of those are actually related to retail in general.
But it's also a community thing.
Yeah, so I think, so my initial idea back then was to create a market, a place or a gathering place for a community, because people in small towns like this one are essentially curious about their neighbors and who their providers are. I mean, I think, you know, we all did pretty well when we were, you know, having farmers come together and get them curious to actually sell at farmers market and get their product to market, which didn't really exist. I think Gordon was, I think, the first farmer really here in town who created a farm market in Kent and sold his product and pulled people in to that. And he created a community around his farm for his CSAs. And I think that's essentially really important, because you create a dialogue and you create a curiosity as to what products you can offer, what people are actually looking for, and you'll provide them with that. I mean, without the knowledge what people want, if they don't come to you and say, hey, I've seen this vegetable out there in the world, can you grow this here? And you can go back to them and say, yes, I can try. Maybe in a couple of years, I'll provide you with that, you know, and to make people understand the difficulty of farming. You know, I think that dialogue has become over and over again very important, and especially in small communities, and bringing people together. And in West Cornwall, to me, it's always been about visitors to the town, to have them see what, you know, exists around here, the farms that exist, the people that exist, the spirit that exists. And that's essentially what's new.
In view of how much it's raining, for instance, this season, and how difficult that's been, would it be feasible to, in that situation, for instance, move the farmer's market into the town hall or someplace?
Yeah, we did it. We've done that. Mm-hmm. And the problem is when it rains, people won't come. Yeah. And even if it rains, yeah, it'll be down 20% when you're on a 10 or you're, I mean, people won't come. But what's amazing too is that 80% of people will come, even if it's pouring rain. Right. They don't learn Cornwall's. We have learned Cornwall's waterproof. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it doesn't. It matters, but it doesn't. A roof won't make that difference. You won't get the people driving around on a sunny day. It's not.
I was just thinking, you know, if in terms of it being like a place to go and something you're only one section, people indoors and it's pouring rain.
But I think, but also like the incubator for small business idea, I think is really important. I mean, the market here sort of launched Susie Sweets, so we all miss that business, but you know, that's how it happened. Now the coffee roaster from Cornwall Bridges at the market, so it gives him a place to concentrate the business for 3 hours, meet some new people. We're going to get some new farmers from nearby there, hopefully over the summer. And it gives a chance for people to talk about food, agriculture, and you know, one of the principles behind the Pink House said that idea was something spawned at the farmers market. What can we do to have a business in town? And it's of course you can. We work on your vision, and that was, you know, the start of the Pink House. So getting a restaurant in there. So, I don't know, it's important, appreciate any support you give. Not easy time.
Publicity?
Publicity is always good. I mean, the state's stealing our signs, drives me nuts. The rummage sale sign. So, I mean, there's all this stuff like what's next?
Are they still doing that this
Yeah,
year?
just right out here. But then you go past this corner. So, but doesn't make sense for the sign there. But anyway, but publicity is good, getting more word out.
Okay,
Word of mouth.
let's follow up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is
Yep, see where we get.
phenomenally important.
Mike, do you want to?
I might consider Montessori school when I go to conference. I mean, I can kind of pick up on the thread a little bit what you guys were talking about. I had some.
You just introduce
Oh,
yourself
sure.
first.
Yeah, sorry. I guess
Tell us who you are.
I am the operator and joint owner of the Cornwall CT. Another gentleman, Will Shank, he owns the real estate. And I've been running the business for the last 7 months. And been mostly awesome so far. I love working here. Food and beverage is kind of what I do. But, it's had its challenges. The town's been very supportive. But the vicissitudes in business volume here are a little new to me. Like our sales right now are double what they were monthly in January, February, March, April. So we were losing a significant amount of money for like 6 months of the year. And then right now we're making money. And so it's kind of like doing business here is a wash, basically, for us. I think we can find a way to be profitable, but it's really challenging. And I think there's not that like convergence of people here on the weekends that you really need to have retail thrive, in my experience. And I've had the 2 meetings I attended with plans for the green and the big intersection down by us. To me, that's like the future of this area to a degree, because it creates a slower moment for people to actually there's pedestrian traffic. Not that West Cornwall has this, but we're kind of like separate. And it's just inherently quaint and slower, whereas we're like a very kind of like breeze through intersection. So I'm very bullish on the area in that way, and I'm super invested. Despite what I said about kind of like doing business for free right now, doesn't mean that I'm anywhere near giving up. But I think there's some unique challenges to doing retail, brick and mortar. Brick and mortar is also just very hard. Labor costs and other inputs are pretty expensive. I feel like I led negatively. I'm sorry. I think we're doing a great job, and people are responding favorably. We've tried really hard to like split the difference between appealing to people that come up on the weekends and then people that are permanent residences. That's challenging, but we're navigating it, I think, in a reasonably effective way. And
that seems to me to be perhaps the one thing which the old markets had, which I'm not sure you have, is people would stop by at 7 or 8 in the morning and get breakfast and hang out there. My sense was, and I'm probably talking right out of my head here, but my sense is there was a lot more of that under the previous administration. And maybe that's not the type of traffic you want. That's my impression.
I mean, that's probably true to a degree. I would say the early morning breakfast traffic comprises 30% of our breakfast sales. So it's a good chunk from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. We give a lot of the contractors a discount who are familiar with. We have like a local workers discount thing that I'm trying to make a little more formal with cards. But right now it's just all the tradespeople that we know in the area. Yeah, it's hard because like we bake everything and we use farm eggs and like good cheese. We just can't like sell a breakfast sandwich for $4. And I also pay people a lot. We pay like a very fair wage. So it's kind of, that's the bargain. There are some people that are going to be telling you about that.
Well, that's important for the trades people to know. It sounds like the ones that go, and I feel
How do
relatively.
you reach out to the
Yeah, how do you
people
get-
so that
we
We
they
don't, it's like a delicate, it's
You
it's
don't want to
a big situation.
advertise.
No,
Okay,
and
right, okay.
I've so talked to you recently. They have sliding scale pricing.
Millerton is a new market.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's I went to a
I
presentation
think
by the
it's
two
a
women
really-
who are running that.
I think
But
it's
it's
a really
like
good
complex.
example. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's complex, but we should study that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I like that's been I wondered that for years. Why aren't there more local markets where people can? It's like kind of like a co-op, like ish
Right.
in places like they're in Vermont, Massachusetts, Brooklyn. Yeah, totally. I think that would be awesome. So we're trying to like introduce an element of that, but I'm being honest, we can't do too much of it. It's our cost of doing business is outrageous.
How much can you estimate how much of your business is not weekenders or locals, but literally tourists who are driving by? Like, can you estimate that?
It would be it would be an average because it's so variable.
But is that I guess I'm asking that question because I'm wondering if that's an important part of being able to be a more profitable business in a tiny town like you were saying. It's just so challenging. Is that something that could be more important? I don't know the solution, but just that it is a place where like you must stop here for your sandwich on your way up to Great Barrington or whatever.
Yeah, I think it could be.
Yeah. The Lime Rock. Right?
If we definitely have big Lime Rock weekends, we get a lot of people coming through.
Okay.
It's probably 18% of our business.
Okay.
If I had to like throw out a number.
Okay.
It's not a huge chunk.
Gotcha.
It's
I think that's pretty significant. If you're saying, 18%, maybe 15%.
Yeah.
This is,
no,
that's the
it's
difference,
nothing.
that's the difference between being successful and not successful, I would say. If you lose 15% of your business,
Yeah.
you're
Right, but it's not a third. I was wondering
No.
a rough estimate, like how important that passerby was. But it's really, you need the people who are local who come
That's our bread and
times
butter.
a week.
Yeah,
We have
get the
like a
right, yeah.
lot of
Right.
repeat customers that
Right.
really keep the place working.
Right.
That's probably 50% of our business.
Okay.
You had some thoughts, the market Cornwall Bridge being a destination, visit. You think or any of that type of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I've been talking to a few people in town, trying to get some periodic live entertainment off the ground. Yeah, festivals. I mean, anything of the festival sort is great. Yeah, I mean, we have the ski mountain Mohawk would be awesome for like a summer festival. I think there's a lot of potential. But as for the market itself, I mean, if we can get to the point where we have some free capital, our goal is to really make our backyard kind of like a mini amphitheater that's geared toward like weekend family friendly entertainment. Like our 2026 big idea. I think it'd be really fun and cool and interesting.
Lantern at, let's say it kind of been successful.
They do a lot of stuff, dance parties. They're funny though. That whole thing's like 501c3 pretty much. None of it makes money. My good friends own the whole thing.
Right.
The lanterns run at a loss. So they do awesome stuff.
Profit business.
Pretty much. It's in the shadow of the Wassaic project. They didn't get into it for that reason. And they do amazing artistic programming, like awesome merchandise, great events. The art's fantastic. So for us, we would like to have an element of that, but then also, it's like food and alcohol sales to bring in some revenue. So I'm open to like any collaboration on seasonal events, I think would be really cool. And I do think Mohawk's got so much potential. I mean, it's such a big draw. And co-promoting with them both during the summer and winter. I reached out to them, but I did it a little late because I came in late this winter. You know, and they only offer so much. And yeah, it's just awesome for us that that's here. Because that really buoys our winter business.
Right. It's not just what they offer, but it's when they offer it.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Oh, I mean, without that, very hard for F&B here. You know, if you're trying to do it 7 days.
I always refer to the winter business, the first 3 months of the year. It's not if you're going to lose money, it's how much of it. And that really is, because you will.
Yeah.
You sort of have to plan for it, and that'll do it. Plan for it.
It's true of the retail too.
It's really, you know, there's,
I mean, I think any area is always in some fashion seasonal, unless you're in New York City. But even there, I think in the summer you have a drought because people flee the city. Then you may have visitors, but now under current administration, you may not have any visitors. You know, they might not come to this country anymore because they're afraid they'll spend their time in jail. So I think, you know, Florida has, you know, they are booming in the winter, you know, and they have nothing in the summer. You know, no one wants to be there. You know, local people flee. So I think one always has to anticipate that downtime. And yeah, you're absolutely right. You win some, and you feel like, oh my God, I'm sitting on top of the mountain.
Yeah.
And then it's like, bloop, and you find yourself falling into this hole, and it's just a sinking feeling, and it happens year after year, and then other things happen.
well, I think everyone here would agree that the market, that what you've done with the market in the 7 months you said has it been there?
Now 8, I suppose.
Pushing 8 months. So last fall is a remarkable, dramatic, nice change in direction. And I think that everybody here would agree that it's still, you know, and I enjoy going there, and I'm not there every day, but I'm somewhat regularly, and everyone probably would say the same thing, and that may not have been the way it was initially, and for whatever reason, that's a whole long story, I'm sure. So thank you for moving in the right direction. I don't know how that goes out for the plan.
I just feel like I'm lucky to have an opportunity to do what I do. It took a long time to, you know, the commercial spaces are hard to come by around here. I feel like I was just in the right place at the right time. And I'm really excited I know that it's tough when you get a bunch of commercial vacancies, but we've got so many vacancies on that stretch, and we're about to have another huge one with the lumberyard transitioning. I think it's a really good opportunity maybe to get in some really, I hope, good retail operators that can grow the kind of destination idea. So that people have a reason to come park and hang out for a couple hours. That's my hope.
You think that when that comes to pass, the big expansion, putting more foot traffic in, and the trucks will still go out and deliver it, not foot traffic that will come in and move in place to 15 miles. That should help some, and then it should free up some other space.
Yeah.
I mean, I think just having a new, you know, that size business all of a sudden be next door is a pretty positive thing.
They're corporate building, yeah, for sure. But also, like, who knows what's going to happen? Who's going to take on their former space?
Correct.
I kind of keep in touch with Peter, who's the listing person on that climb, and he said there's been a little bit of activity, but not a ton so far. It's a tricky one. It's old. I don't know.
Well, look, to the extent we can be helpful, myself apart, there are a lot of quite bright people on this commission who can help bounce ideas off or it's not get individual views. Please try and use it.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
We're committed to doing the think tank we can support you. One of the essential businesses we can.
Thank you. It feels that way. I appreciate it.
Certainly. But thank you for. Okay, do you want to?
Oh yes, a couple updates. Let's see. We just had a retirement party for our longtime land use administrator, Karen.
That's what was going.
Yeah, which was great. Many years of service, and we have a newly hired a new land use administrator, Spencer, to replace her, which is awesome. The West Cornwall wastewater project. So our team met with 4 different firms last week, and we found 2 strong candidates that we're going to go to request for proposal for. Both candidates have a lot of experience with this particular type of system and navigating some of the intricacies of that. So we're excited for that because it's a big step forward in the project. And so we'll see the outcome of the RFPs, and we'll likely select a firm to do the design and build portion. So some great progress there. Let's see, regional waste. There might still be some light at the end of the tunnel for a municipal option when it comes to municipal solid waste. Basically what happens is the state intervened with the sale of the Torrington transfer station. So that was some big news. It's HB 7287, and it requires the operating permit be transferred from MIRA to the newly formed Regional Waste Authority, because USA Recycling, which is a private company, tried to come in kind of at the last minute to buy the transfer station. And so this latest state legislation very well might prohibit it. So that's good news in the sense that there could be still a municipal option on the table for our waste, which is a big thing. You know, Connecticut's been at a crossroads with this for a while now. What else? Our America 250 committee recently met. So this is the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. So it's slated for July 4th, 2026. So we've had a couple of meetings already with our group. We're going to have there'll be some exhibits of the Historical Society, some other events and things that we've been cooking up there, including a Revolutionary War reenactment that will be done by a local Revolutionary and Civil War reenactor that we have in Cornwall. So more to come on that. I attended the Iron Hike Endurance Series at Mohawk Mountain, which was in early June, just to kind of check that out. It's second or third year they've done this event, and so it's kind of a weekend kind of hike camp event where you try to climb up the mountain so many times, whether you choose to climb the top of Mount Denali or whatever it is. That's how they measure it. So there was some good energy there. A lot of people were camping out doing the loop, so that was good. And then Mohawk's actually doing a mountain bike camp for kids this summer, which I think they also did last year. So they've got a couple of weeks they're going to be doing that, which is great. Because one thing we've been trying to encourage is just kind of more mountain biking. In the area we have a lot of hiking trails, but it'd be great if we had more mountain biking, kind of more different recreational stuff to do in the mix. So there's that. The rummage sale is going to be the weekend of July 19th, which is a huge Cornwall event every year. July Fest is also going to come up. I don't know if we have the exact date for that, but that's the July Fest with Park and Rec, where there'll be food and some bands and that type of thing. And we recently had the beach party, which had a really good turnout, which was good. Rose Allgrant show's coming up August 8th through 10th, which is one of the big premier art shows of the year. Some of the top trending content on the Cornwall website has been town offices page with over 500 views in the last 28 days. The covered bridge page, which is always very popular, one of our top visitors pages. The Great Country Mutt Show event page was popular since it's a big little guild event. The transfer station page, as always, continues to get many hits. The food and drink page has been getting more hits. That's our page that we have that just talks about, you know, the different places to eat and have beverages around Cornwall. And then the building department page has actually seen a good spike, which is hopefully a good sign of some renewed building and, you know, construction going on here in summer. And then the rummage sale page continues to gain more popularity. Commercial property roundup, let's see. Yes, 26 Kent Road South, you know, the old hardware store buildings are still available, as we know. A lot of square footage, great opportunity to own some, you know, some good commercial buildings along Route 7 within the retail corridor. We had 22 Kent Road South, the old Campbell shop. I think that's still on the market. Is anyone? Yeah. Then 415 Sharon Ocean Turnpike, the first floor of the Union. I heard that might have been rented.
Well, that's important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Park Outdoors has like stuff, so if whoever's in charge of publicizing stuff like when you throw all their paddles and stuff outside, and just put a kayak out on the porch, you know, just because again that dovetails with the recreational aspect that are well established, getting people into things. It's very nice to know.
Yeah, so that was some exciting news. And then I think the only one other had was 10 River Road South, which I talked about last time. That was the lot next to the commercial lot next to the old factory building. I think that might have sold. I'm not sure, but I heard there was a lot of people looking at it, and the latest thing I said indicated it might be off the market, so I'm not sure of that one. And I think that's about it. Anything else, Gordon?
Just one thing, people beware, like stack up your coolers and Richard, because it's going to be a huge Lime Rock event this weekend. They're closing Route 112 to one-way traffic.
Is it NASCAR trucks this weekend?
NASCAR trucks is this weekend, so that I mean, in theory, that's going to impact a lot of people. Hopefully,
I grew up working in a NASCAR race in upstate New York.
It's something else. So
a lively crowd.
A lively crowd. Yeah, hopefully,
a lot of beer.
Lively.
No, anyway, that would be.
Richard, yeah, load up on Bud Light.
Yeah, probably don't have enough.
I think it's mostly Friday and Saturday's the big deal.
I think the ground's up on full.
So just be aware of that.
Newsletter or something like.
Yeah.
I think that would be
Tell
good
people.
for. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I'm not really sure. It may be a big deal, it may not be a big deal, but.
People go over to work, right? You know, if they can get through there.
Right. There's something that the utilities are not sure.
Yeah, but.
People from Salisbury down at Tractor Trailer Parade on Thursday. You want to see tractor trailers? Go to Salisbury. It's having.
It's fun. It's
fun. It's getting mixed reception.
Yeah.
Gord, what's happened with the engineers working from the bridge?
So we're going to meet. We're pushing to try to get the crosswalk done, and then we'll work on the bigger plan after we do that. So we'll on doing that, we're looking at the state made us for that small thing reconfigure the access address from the market to get the crosswalk. So we're working on getting those permits aligned with cooperation with property. So we have lots of big projects.
Forgive my ignorance, but what is going on with this potluck dinner thing? Are we now precluded from having now our food events? Or?
What for? You for the picnic, you have to know the source where the food came from. And people drop off a pot of beans from their home stove.
At least for a town event.
For town events, if you wanna have, if you church or if you wanna have people over at a private club or a church, you can still do that. But if it's an advertised town event, you have to, this food has to come from an inspected. That's, we believe that.
People bring in
Yeah,
a lot of,
Yeah, but I think,
contribution.
yeah.
Well, the
Park and
taste of
Rec has
Cornwall
some.
is all done by Florence Farm. So that will still, you can use the ingredients, or if you prepare everything at the parish house or some place where it's a known kitchen, but what you can't do is have people bring stuff from their houses, put it down on the table, and then everybody starts eating. At a public event, a private event, if it's a church dinner, you can do it. If you want to advertise the community, you can't do it under the current code. And that's pretty statewide. It just takes longer for us to. No, because it's public meeting. You don't have to do it. You advertise it, you have to. I mean, we can't ask Mike to follow the health code and the town gets not to follow the health code. And that's unfortunately where things.
So we don't think it's going to affect our food events very much.
Well, it's a Park and Rec thing more. Park and Rec
It does,
can
I mean,
use the parish house, right? Isn't that one of their work?
Yeah,
One of the ways they work.
That's a
in-
certified kitchen. So
Right,
there are
so,
ways, if you have a food truck or whatever comes in theory they're coming from, they have their licenses and
Right,
stuff.
right.
It's not a big deal, you can't.
Is this
I
a
don't-
new one?
This, I think is like 3 or 4 years old.
So we just didn't.
We didn't do it, but also most of our events were either catered or had food trucks. So there was very,
For the town picnic, nobody.
the town picnic, people just brought stuff in, so that's where that.
Thank you. Great, well, it's very helpful. Does anyone have anything else they want to raise? Okay. Anyone on the Zoom? Is there anyone who's not on the Zoom?
There.
Okay, then can I have a motion to adjourn?
All in favor?
Aye. 8:36. Thank you very much, everyone.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Oh. We're doing a vintage pop-up clothing sale did in early August. I'm gonna post it on our Instagram. A friend of mine, she's begun over